Hello everyone, today sorry, that took me way longer than I thought it would to say, but hello everybody, today we are going to review the movie The Old Guard from, was it last year? Yeah, I guess it was last year that it came out, starring Charlize Theron. If I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, I'm sorry, but anyhow, this movie just came out last year, and I've kind of been waiting to watch it, because sometimes I like to wait till the hype has died down a little bit for movies so that I can kind of go into it with my own kind of low expectations. I like to go into movies that way so that I'm not expecting it to be like a huge hit and then I'm disappointed. Because I feel like if you go into movies with high expectations, especially a movie with a lot of hype behind it, even if it's just a Netflix film, it seems to kind of like disappoint you in a way because you were expecting more out of the movie than what you wanted. But this movie definitely took a twist for me because I did not know. Just sorry, I'm just adjusting the camera. I did not know just from the trailer that they were going to be immortal. So that was a nice surprise, actually, because the very first scene where they die, all of a sudden they start to heal, and I was like, okay, what's going on here? How come they're not dying? Is this some sort of weird training exercise, or what's going on here? But no, it turns out that Andy, the leader of this, I don't know, kind of like assassin group, I guess, in a way, has been around for I don't know how many years. At least 500, because I think that's what they mentioned at one point in time, is that she's been around for, or the girl that she used to, the first girl that she met of her kind has been trapped underwater for in a steel cage for 500 years, and she just constantly keeps drowning and dying and then coming back to life and then drowning and coming back to life. That would be an eternity of hell, I'm sure. 500 years of that would make you go absolutely crazy, because you'd be waiting for somebody to come save you and you just keep constantly dying and coming back to life. What was her name again? I believe they may have been some sort of couple in the past. Maybe Quinn or Queen? Quinn or Queen? I'm not really sure how to pronounce that. It's Quynh, so I believe it's Quinn, but I could be wrong. Anyhow, so Charlize Theron and her team of Booker, Joe, and Nikki. So it's just the four of them. They're basically these soldiers. I guess they call themselves that, like a mini army that have been around for years. And they basically take on the underground things that the world doesn't really know about. So it kind of has the same concept as Six Underground, except they've been around for centuries, and what they do affects generations to come rather than the generation that they're in. So they're kind of changing the future of the world for everybody without them really even knowing that they exist. So it's kind of the same concept as Six Underground, where they're ghosts and they're trying to not be found out, because obviously in this the only difference is that they are immortal. But unfortunately, an interesting concept in this movie that I found is that they're not completely immortal, because eventually, as time goes on, there comes a point where they do eventually, their life eventually ends. So I guess immortality only lasts so long because their wounds stop healing. So basically, it's the four of them to begin with, and they call her boss because she's been around the longest. And this guy Merrick is trying to create drugs to basically save humanity, and he finds these people through this guy named Copley, and he shows them this video of them coming back to life. So he wants to use their DNA Merrick wants to use their DNA in order to basically see if he can inject it into other human beings, I guess, or put it in some sort of miracle drug to make people live longer and cure certain diseases, like including cancer and dementia and a whole bunch of other things, which would have been interesting if he was only using it for that purpose, but I guess he doesn't really care. He might even be trying to weaponize it in some way to create, like, I don't know, maybe super soldiers, or use it kind of for himself. It seems like he has some sort of like selfish vendetta in order to basically just kind of create a super drug and charge it at a really high price. And if it takes him generations or decades to find out how to basically get their DNA out of them and use it for his own purpose, that's what he'll do. He'll stop at nothing. Luckily, they are able to stop him in the end of the movie, because I don't think it would have been good if Merrick got his hands on this, because he probably would have found some sort of way to weaponize it and create his own sort of super soldier army, I guess. Maybe possibly would have been what the outcome would have been, from what I guess, because he seemed like some sort of evil mastermind, was my guess anyhow, or how I kind of perceived him. So, anyway, they are trying to stop him from doing that. Certainly after they capture Nikki and Joe. So, in the beginning, it's just the four of them, as I was saying. Sorry, I kind of got off topic and just started going on about the other characters. But anyhow, so in the beginning, it's the four of them. They start having these dreams with this new girl named Nile, who's in the army. She finds out that she can't die, so obviously what's going through her head is like, how is this even possible? What's going on with me? I'm not understanding this. So eventually Andy is able to kind of kidnap her in a way, because she breaks into the military base and takes her away from there. And she says to her that you are no longer a soldier, you're basically a ghost. You have to pretend like you don't exist anymore, because if people found out what you were, they would use you for their own benefit. And I mean, that is obviously true throughout the movie, because look at what Merrick does with them, trying to use their DNA to create whatever it is that he can create out of their DNA. So, eventually, it looks like Andy is reaching the end of her life. She stops healing at some point in the movie after she's stabbed, and when she realizes this, she goes, oh no, what am I going to do? Unfortunately for the movie, she does live, but not before Booker, I guess, kind of her right-hand man, betrays her, and I guess in his way, he was trying to find a way to die. He didn't want to live anymore, because he lived through so much pain, losing his family, and so on and so forth, that he wanted a way out. So I guess he kind of double-crossed Andy in order to basically give Merrick a way to use their DNA to find a way to kill them in some sort of way, but that's not what Andy meant when she not what she meant when she said she wanted to find a way to die. She just wanted to live out her immortality as long as she could, and then just pass on like normal immortal would, I guess. Eventually your wounds just stop healing, so eventually you do pass away, because I guess the healing process is just so slow. It's kind of like almost like Wolverine in a way with the antimanium. Eventually you just age out and it runs out, and then there's no way to really cure it. You just die from old age. So I guess It kind of reminded me of that in a way. It was almost like the immortality was like the antimanium. It wasn't complete immortality, but it lasted long enough for them to live out a longer life than anybody else in their family could. But this movie had a huge plot twist at the end. Booker gets kicked out of the group, obviously, for betraying them, because he had his own selfish reasons for wanting to die. So I guess he kind of dragged them all down with him. So he gets kicked out of the group, and then 6 months later, huge cliffhanger at the end of this movie. Quinn, the girl who was shown drowning in the movie, somehow shows up in Booker's apartment. So this movie needs a sequel. Please, within the next couple years, I hope this movie gets a sequel, because that would be awesome, because that was a huge cliffhanger ending, and if it just ends that way without a sequel, I'm going to be highly disappointed, because I would like to see where that story goes, especially knowing that Andy was with her when they were doing the witch trials, and that's how they thought they were going to separate them and destroy their powers. So that would be a very interesting storyline to just kind of learn more about them and how their battles took place and really go back into the past of Andy and Quinn. I think that would be an interesting story. I would like to see that, and then kind of find out how they all met through the ages. That would be an interesting concept for this story. So I'm hoping that at some point in time they decide to make The Old Guard 2, because I would love to see a sequel to this movie. And as I'm saying this, my rating is definitely a 10 out of 10 for this movie. Great storyline, great character development for all of the characters, and the one guy, Copley, who is trying to basically find a cure for cancer because that's what his wife died of. And near the end, there was no hope in saving her. She couldn't talk, she couldn't breathe, and she eventually passed away. And he thought using these immortals would be the way to find a cure. But then, obviously, that backfired on him when Merrick wanted to use it for his own purposes. And then he's kind of done the history on it, so he knows more about what they have done through the last, 150 years or so, as to what kind of huge events they've stopped and made it better for the centuries going forward. Because yeah, they've done quite a bit of things over the years between the four of them, and obviously now five of them because of Niall coming into the group. So yeah, hopefully there is a sequel to this movie, because that would be very interesting. And obviously they kind of left it open for that, because now Copley is working with them to find all these missions that they can do in order to save the world. So hopefully there's some sort of sequel to this. Would be very interesting to see a kind of the history of them, and then leading back up into the Copley part, and then them going on missions in the present, and seeing how that leads into, obviously, the future of Immortals. I would like to see more Immortals come into the second film, and kind of maybe have a serious franchise out of this, maybe 3 or 4 movies, just to kind of see obviously the death of some of the older Immortals, and kind of a new age. I think that would be a really cool concept to continue the story as, or story with. So maybe, we'll see. Who knows? Maybe this review will get a lot of views, and hopefully we can get a sequel to this movie, because I think that would be really awesome. But anyhow, that's all I have to say. My rating is 10 out of 10. I think I said that already, but just in case I haven't, saying it again. And please like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on this film. If you've seen it. If not, please go watch it, because it was a fantastic film. And obviously Charlize Theron has done I don't know if she's been in a lot of high budget movies in the last couple years, but ever since I would say Mad Max, her career's kind of just completely taken off. because she did a fantastic job in that movie too. And I have reviewed that in the past, so please go watch that review as well, because it's a little bit longer, probably like this one, because I feel like I'm kind of rambling now. But anyhow, that's all I have to say about this film, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.